Hi guys. So it's official. As of 2 days ago, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and director Shawn Levy have announced that filming on Deadpool 3 has finally been completed after being delayed with the last half of filming due to the SAG-AFTRA strike halting production until that was over. So now that we are only 6 months out from the film's official global release as of today, I have a 10-minute message that I'll be sharing across social media, as well as splitting up into 4 or 5 different videos on Twitter, to director Shawn Levy and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman regarding Deadpool 3 now that it's over. Important messages for the film leading up to its release that I hope that they are acknowledging and listening to. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Levy, Mr. Jackman, I wish you good luck on Deadpool 3 this coming July, but know that I must suggest 4 things to you regarding the film before it hits theaters this summer to ensure that that film is a hit at the box office. First, the visual effects of the film. Now, this is the most important point of this movie, right, as much as the second one that I'll get to in a minute. But before I move into that, the first thing I must ask is that you ensure that, I'm sure you already were on this when filming, after filming of the first 50% of Deadpool 3 was completed after SAG-AFTRA shut down that with the strike of filming. But given how Marvel Studios has come under fire for not all, but a lot of how their projects have suffered from poor visual effects, given the treatment of their visual effects workers, even though I feel like they are trying to fix that. Given that you did shoot, edit, and do visual effects on the first 50% of what you shot before completing filming recently, I hope that you, with the 6 months they have till the release, that you do everything you can to ensure that this film has strong visual effects without overworking the visual effects workers as best you can. And I hear that you may be onto that already, given that you've already locked visual effects for certain things in the film right before you started filming, and this will apparently follow Bob Iger's new mandate of not changing anything in post-production and making sure that there are no visual effects changes, but I need you to be sure that that's the case moving forward, starting now. Second, the marketing for this film. Now, this is very important, arguably just as important as the first, because here's the thing. I do believe that this film can be the next Marvel Studios film under Disney to make $1 billion worldwide, even be the second R-rated film to do that after Joker, and the second R-rated comic movie as well. But there is an asterisk to that, because when Joker and Oppenheimer were being marketed, even the latter, they all did over or close to $1 billion, but not because of the R rating. It's because they really showcased how these films were quite spectacular events and very intriguing and controversial, at least in Joker's case, events to look forward to in the theater. And people were like, whoa, what were these films? So my hope is that, while I'm not asking you to change the film from R-rated to PG-13, it should be R-rated, since that will satisfy a lot of people. I'm also asking that you be very considerate with how you approach the marketing for this film, because I feel while some people might be looking forward to it because of the R rating, most people are looking forward to it because they want to know if this film will really set things right for the Marvel's Studios multiverse saga of the MCU, and for the big appearances that this film still has not yet revealed, outside of maybe a couple appearances from leaked set photos that I won't say what they were. But I'll say this: if Mr. Levy, Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Jackman, if I could make a suggestion for the first teaser trailer for Deadpool 3 that might drop during the Super Bowl in 16 days, what I'm asking of you for the marketing is not to show everything, but to really rope people in with a record-breaking trailer at the Super Bowl that shows not just Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but also Patrick Stewart's Charles Xavier as one of the big appearances, because of the villain of this film, which is the third thing I'm asking you to show, which is Emma Corrin's character, rumored to be Cassandra Nova, the twin sister of Charles Xavier, who had her appearance mauled in his mother's womb, and especially Taylor Swift as Dazzler, so you can one-up Warner Brothers using Lady Gaga to promote Joker 2. Third, the perception appeal of Deadpool 3. Now, I'm not like most of these people on Twitter, Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Levy. And I'm sure most people aren't as mean to you as well, Mr. Jackman, since they like you probably more than the other two. But now, it's no secret that for the past few years, ever since post-Avengers Endgame, there's been a sect of cinephiles on Twitter, who many dub as Film Twitter, that's been rallying against the MCU for being not art house enough for their taste, and with this whole movement of thinking that the MCU is not cinema, which personally I feel like that's not right to say, and it's not, and really they should say it's not cinema to me, even though it's cinema for everyone else, which is a whole other story for another day. But besides that point, let's just say, given many people think of you, Shawn Levy, and you, Ryan Reynolds, as for the former, a journeyman with no sense of style, even though Free Guy kind of proved otherwise, and for Ryan Reynolds, they really feel like you're just not funny, and your sense of humor just turns people off. That's not what I think. That's what other people think. But I do think it is important to keep in mind, as they will be baited into targets of being trolled, not just by grifters, which I'll get to in the next point, but by these cinephiles. So if anyone asks you in the press about what you think of what Martin Scorsese feels about of comic movies, Marvel movies in particular, or any other director thinks as well, make sure you don't take the bait. And if people ask, how do you feel about how people think your marketing is just too humorous and really like grating on people, just say, hey, you know what? We apologize if people are a bit annoyed by us, but there's a certain way we're marketing this film to really rope people in, and it's not everyone will like the humor, but it is what it is. So that's us. We apologize, but it's not everything's going to be for everyone. So I hope you at least say that to them to avoid getting in any trouble with Film Twitter. And finally, the last bit here: be very strategic in the choice of words you use when on interviews, because I already talked about how Film Twitter can be very like a minefield to get around, but it's not just them. It's these online grifters, especially those. Now, it's no secret that Marvel Studios has had a bit of trouble trying to get around from these toxic people on the internet, especially given how Phase 4 and Phase 5 of the MCU have kind of come under fire for having a lot of leads in projects with that are diverse. Some of them good, some of them almost good, but not entirely great, and some of them have just been mediocre, which is why many online have dubbed these last two phases of the MCU the MCU, even, which is born out of these whole toxic hate for these kinds of diverse leads, especially being born out of Star Wars with what happened with The Last Jedi and everything else there, and the whole sequel trilogy as well, but that's a whole other story for another day. So, Mr. Levy and Mr. Reynolds, my last piece of advice to you: make sure that you are very careful with what you say, because it can be used against you on the internet by these kinds of toxic people, especially since they're rooting for your film to be the one to save the MCU, quote, save, and to really make people excited for the MCU's future again after so many mixed bags of films and series and Disney Plus series that really have just not made people that much hopeful for the future. And this film needs to be important in doing that, especially if it makes $1 billion worldwide this coming July. So really make sure that the choice of words you use really is enough to stay out of trouble from these kinds of people, but also enough to get more general people to be on your side and really show up at the films in droves like they did for Spider-Man No Way Home, maybe even bigger than that this coming summer, because I really believe in your film, despite maybe some not being so optimistic as I am. So my hope is that you do everything you can to make these people believe in your film and to turn things around for the MCU with this film, with what you do before things get worse going forward, because we need it now more than ever. Okay, so really that's all I've got to say. I really hope... So if you're watching this video, Mr. Levy, Mr. Reynolds, that's all I have to say regarding 4 things that I'm hoping that you take into consideration for the marketing for Deadpool 3. And I'm looking forward to that first teaser trailer, which I hope breaks records when it drops to the Super Bowl in 16 days, assuming that report is true. So, well, good luck to you, Mr. Everyone. Oh, one more thing. When the trailer begins playing in theaters, show it with Dune Part 2, not Madam Web, because there might be some bad comic movies this year, and I don't want that trailer playing in front of those movies because it might give Deadpool 3 a bad reputation. Thank you.